Hey guys, Kamina the coach here. Welcome back if you've been following me. And if this is your first time here, my name is Kamina the coach. I have been working and living abroad for over a decade. I'm an education professional in my fuzzy slippers. I a lot of the videos on this channel are about working and living abroad. March of 2020, I was forced back into the United States. I'm a late discovery transracial adoptee. I didn't find out till I was 32 that I was adopted, and I was adopted by white racist parents. So when I moved back to the United States due to COVID, I really aggressively started addressing adoption trauma and early childhood trauma. I am now back overseas as of September of 2022, and you will find a mixture of videos on this channel, some about living just a better, more peaceful life, some about working and living abroad, and some about working through and dealing with trauma. So this video is a follow-on to the last one when I was talking about my time in Dubai, which was not pleasant. 2 weeks of really misery doesn't seem a stretch of the word. I mean, it doesn't seem a stretch to describe how my time was, because I'm actually really suffering the repercussions of it now. And it's hard not to be angry about it. So I paid over $2,000 to come back to my working living situation and need to see a therapist. I'm in a horrible space emotionally and mentally right now, and I'm sure 100% that it has to do with every day dealing with the racism that I faced in Dubai. My two biggest triggers are racism and adoption. Huge things for me, and I will probably be working through these things for the rest of my life. And as a result, being immersed in one of your biggest triggers for 2 weeks solid, the amount of luxury can't fix that and can't even that out, or at least not for me. I am struggling with sleep. I'm having really intense sensory issues. I'm having suicidal ideation. It's horrible. It really is. It is really horrible. And I recognize that somebody who doesn't have the type of trauma that I have, somebody not as intensely sensitive as me, probably wouldn't be feeling this. But it is the case that I am who I am with the trauma that I have, and with the brain that I have, the beautiful brain that I have, and I'm really suffering. And it feels good to say it out loud. I'm suffering, I'm struggling, and I'm angry that I had to pay to be put into a situation like this. Now, on the flip side of that, do I feel like the universe had something to teach me from this? Is it going to propel me into a different state? I absolutely believe that. I believe that growth doesn't happen when we're comfortable and content. It only happens when we are uncomfortable. And there is definitely a period of growth to come after this, because I am uncomfortable. I've reached out to some adoptee groups. I just always feel like and this is another reason why I do these videos, because I know that I can't be the only one who always feels like they're on the periphery of everything. I know that I can't be the only one. I'll hear glimmers of similarities, but for the most part, I feel like I am an outlier in most communities. in the TRA community, transracial adoptees, people who are adopted by a different race than them, I feel like I'm an outlier. In the adoptee community, I feel like an outlier. Um, in the Black community, I feel like an outlier. In the female community, I feel like an outlier. In the queer community, I feel like an outlier. Um, and the communities where I have felt welcome feel mildly cultish. Mushroom community, I was embraced there, but it felt too cultish. I don't like to be in communities where I'm told what I should think, what I should believe, what I should do. I don't like that. I feel like we should have pure agency over what we do and think and feel, as long as we're not hurting ourselves. Even if you're hurting yourself, it's whose business is it really? Or hurting someone else, hurting children, or hurting the earth. I really feel like people should have the agency to do as they please. So, also, I think that a positive realization that I've come to is that, and I've reached out to some other people who I feel like are kind of wired differently, and received some toxic positivity, kind of cliche sayings like whether you do or whether you don't do everything, it is, as you know, these kind of. And when you're in crisis, while a cliche is a cliche because a lot of it is true, it's really not what you want to hear, especially when you share with somebody that you feel like you're coming undone. But I understand, as a very highly energetic person, that energy may come off as off-putting to another sensitive person. Again, feeling very isolating. But I just caveat, I also recognize that there are things that I do in my C-PTSD that cause me to be isolated. Being overly critical of others, being too negative, and all results of C-PTSD. So being gentle with myself, but just kind of recognizing that I do play a part in that as well, and giving other people space and grace to be who they are, while I'm just trying to give myself space and grace to be who I am. I think one of the biggest realizations that I've had as I move through all of this is that I probably am somewhere on this spectrum of autistic. I am definitely neurodivergent. My brain works differently from others. Even as I sit here, I'm itchy, and it really, really bothers me. I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning because the itchiness would not allow me to. It's probably the water, but it doesn't bother most people here where I work the way that it bothers me. I also have something called tryptophobia. If you know, you know. They call it fear. Even as I talk about it, I'm getting chills. So they call it fear of circles, but that, I don't really think, it's not really fear. It's really disgust. And Facebook has tricked me into seeing a picture, and then YouTube has recently showed me a picture of it as well. And for those of you who suffer from this, I'm not going to describe it. For myself, I'm not going to describe it, but I'm really struggling with these pictures playing over and over in my mind. I felt like I was going to have a mental break when I was in Mexico, because I had tried to desensitize myself from the pictures, and I had overloaded on them, and I had to get up in the middle of the night because I felt like I was going to have a psychotic break. And this is sensory stuff. Picking that a lot of autistic people will pick until they have sores, and I have to be really careful if I vision one of the pictures, I really want to like scratch my skin off. And I will scratch, and my nails are very sharp, and I have cut myself. Luckily, that pain will stop me. Um, I remember being young, very young, second or third grade, and teachers speaking to my mother, my adoptive mother, and suggesting that I was special needs. I'm not sure how the conversation went, but I remember being very angry. I don't know if I heard her speaking this. I'm not even sure how I know. I don't think she relayed the information to me. I think I just overheard. Be careful what you say around kids, they're absorbing everything. But I definitely got the tail end of it where she was pissed off because how dare you insinuate that her child is anything but a perfect white child. And somehow she had fooled herself into believing that I was hers. Long story. I didn't find out that I was black until I was 14. It's a story for a different video. Go search for it if you're curious about that. But I'm laughing because it's so wildly absurd. And probably because I'm 44, probably during that time there wasn't much understanding of autism. I'm almost positive I never heard anyone say the word autism when I was a kid. And would the provisions that would have been provided for me or restrictions provided for me helped my life? I'm not sure. But knowing that from an early age that there was something different about how my brain functioned, and I'm sorry about the itching. I really am. And I recognize if you're a sensitive person that it may be off-putting to see me continue to do that. But you understand, I'm just that dysregulated. Like, I'm really struggling. I may look very composed, but in the inside, I really feel like I'm coming undone. But it would have been nice to know that, really understand that there's no reason to feel like an alien because my brain is genuinely shaped different from majority of people. And that my reactions were perfectly normal for my brain. I remember carrying a lot of guilt from when I was young because I got in a lot of trouble. So 2 different occasions, a girl brought a grocery store receipt to show and tell when I was like in pre-kindergarten, and I snatched it out of her hand and tore it up because I had this like disgust with the idiocracy of it. And as an adult, I've been really hard on myself. Like, why would you do that? Why would you be so mean? And as an adult, I'm starting to recognize like this kind of disgust that I have when people aren't able to perceive things ridiculous the way that I do. And I'm just now starting to like recognize that. I also, somebody that I liked, by the way, I actually, I kind of backhanded him in the stomach because he disagreed with me over something we saw in a Twizzlers commercial in school. And I almost got paddled for that. And it was when I went to school, kids could get hit at school. That was also something I carried with me for a long time. And so I've done a couple of videos about thinking about being autistic on the spectrum and how knowing or being diagnosed probably wouldn't have served me. It might have restricted me, but it also, I think, would have empowered me in just embracing truly that I just really am different and that I process things differently. And when I sought help, being able to seek out specialists who understood this type of patterning in the brain. Or that's the wrong way to say it because they really don't understand it, right? But have a better understanding than most. How about that? So I'm looking, and what am I going to do with that now? I don't know, to be honest. I am in such an uncomfortable space. I'm not able to, um, I'm just not able to function really well. I caught myself not doom scrolling, but I was watching a docu-series that was getting a bit too dark on like kids, celebrities on the internet, and plastic surgery, just a lot of stuff that I feel sad and upset about. And I could tell it was having a physical effect on me. So thank goodness, awareness, I caught that and I turned it off, and it was making me feel, I noticed that it was making me feel bad. So I stepped away from that. What will probably need to happen is I need to go swimming and need to go do some laps, but I probably can't even do that in the nasty pool here because of the sensory stuff. I'll probably need to work out inside of my apartment instead of going to the gym because I am kind of in sensory overload and the gym is really kind of gross to me. um, oh yes, another realization that I wanted to share is the realization, and I'm trying to be easy, gentle with myself about this, the masking. I've been masking, and so I encountered this therapist who was talking about the detriment of masking and how, and what's wrong with it. I was like, what's wrong if you are faking it to make it? And the truth is that it's not sustainable. And so especially when things get rough. And so I'm kind of unraveling, recognizing that I haven't been carrying myself through life as the authentic me, or at least not all the time. And again, something that's kind of embarrassing and uncomfortable to deal with. So I'm just trying to be gentle, gentle with myself. I had a good hug of my inner child last night. It is a lot to take in. So mostly just, reminding myself and others that if you're uncomfortable, that growth, that change is coming on the other side of that, hopefully. And that's something that I don't just believe, it's not lip service. I mean, childbirth is uncomfortable, healing wounds are uncomfortable. So it just is. When I went to the dermatologist for acne, they say it's got to get worse before it gets better. So hopefully on the other side of this, that there is something much better. But that trip to Dubai, thank you very much, has really caused, spurred me into growth that I wasn't ready for right now. I mean, how often are we really ready? Anyways, it was supposed to be this way. I'm sure. I wish that I had more of a community to wrap their arms around me as I move through this. I wish that I had more people around me that understand. I definitely have made an appointment to see my energy worker and have her kind of coat me in some healing light. I have found that I have abandoned my practices while I was on vacation, which was really a not good juju. So I feel like I'm rambling. So at this point, I will leave you. If you are suffering and you are struggling, you've got to know that everything is cyclical and this too shall pass. Oh, it felt good to say it. This too shall pass. If you are suffering and struggling, just understand this too shall pass. So, sending you love, light, peace, and joy. Until next time, my name is Community Coach.